Yeah, so I'm over here basically working while the main beating is going on, but you're not missing any steps. You're doing basically the same step over and over and over. I call it the rule of five. I do 5 etches for 5 minutes, 5 times. So you're not really missing anything over here. But I might as well go over what I do anyway. This is the condition that these are 2 identical knives I have right here. You pass that around. You basically want a nice, clean, smooth surface. If there's any scratches, they will somewhat be hidden, but they will still be there. You want a nice, clean, polished-ish surface so you get a nice finish at the end of it. Once you get the knife nice and clean, you're going to want to actually get all of the oils, any chemicals off of it. I normally use acetone, or you can use rubbing alcohol if you would like. Then I normally will attach it to some sort of string, like so, and I'll put it in uric acid to acid etch it. This stuff, you can buy it as is, but I want to tell you it's a lot more expensive. It's probably 2 to 3 times the cost to buy it made than it is to make it. You can actually go on YouTube and look up a YouTube video of how to make it from Mr. Underhill Forge.
Get your hydrogen peroxide from a beauty supply store. They have a 6% hydrogen peroxide. Your hydrogen peroxide from Walgreens or whatever is only like 3%, and it has some kind of agent in it that helps keep the peroxide stable, but it also neutralizes any acids.
If you type in how to make muriatic acid, it should be the first video that pops up. And and you're making ferric chloride.
Okay. How strong is that?
I've heard people have issues with ferric chloride acid. Saying it won't etch, it takes a really long time. I've had this one batch probably for 2 years now. I probably need to make some more just because. Again, probably I think $30 to $40 is how much it costs, maybe a little less to make a batch of it. And this is what's left. Some of it got spilt out because I wasn't paying attention one day and I bumped it over and I was able to save this much. Again, we're talking as this is etching right now. It's basically put in there for 5 minutes and just let it do its thing. When it comes to stone washing, if you do not want to go the acid route, you can use gun fluid. It doesn't have the same finish, but it's more glossier. But you can still use it as a substitute if you just want to gun blue the blade, then go from there.
The cold blue?
Cold blue, yeah. Birchwood Casey has it. I think it's like 25 bucks, something like that. Maybe a little less. This isn't acid. Be careful. It's not to the point where your hands will melt off when you touch it. It's not the end of the world. But do not just leave it on there. Over here to the right of me, I have water with baking soda in it as a neutralizer. I highly recommend you keep some around, and maybe even a little bit of baking soda in case something spills. Because whatever it touches, it's going to rust. Wherever you store it, be very careful. Wherever you store it, be careful. Don't put it in like a metal file cabinet or under something meaning metal, because the vapors, just like with a cable knife, will travel up into the threads of a cable knife. It will rust it. If you left this under this table, you'd see literally a rust spot develop, and it would probably eat a hole in this table over a year. It is very reactive to metal, is what this stuff is. And it's been about 5 minutes. Now I'm going to pull it out. Let it drip all out. All of it. Now I'm going to put it in the water and baking soda solution just for a few minutes. You can see it'll bubble up a little bit. I'm going to take some steel wool. This is quadruple steel wool. I'm just going to get the top layer off, that oxidizing layer. You can use a Scotch-Brite pad if you want. I prefer the quadruple steel wool. It just doesn't eat into it because this is a surface finish. And over time it does kind of wear, but it actually wears very well, especially with a work knife. Kind of gives a little character, a little battle-born finish people like. This is probably the third or the fourth one. But as you can see, comparing it to the original shiny one, it's already darkened up a good bit. Put it back in there. Wipe all the water, baking soda off of it. Try to get semi-dry because you don't want to basically neutralize your acid because you want to keep it as long as possible. This stuff is pretty strong. I normally can etch a Damascus blade or any kind of pattern welded steel blade within an hour. I normally like a good deep etch. That's just me personally. You could probably just throw it in for 10 minutes and you still get a nice pattern, but I like a nice deep etch on the pattern steel.
So if you're doing a pattern welded, you just leave it in there for an hour and then neutralize it in the baking soda. You don't go back and forth.
Well, if I'm in the shop and I'm not just like, oh, I'm tired of going to the house, what I'll do is about every 30 minutes or at the 30-minute mark, I'll come over and do this to it. Just get that top layer off of it because it kind of prevents it from getting even deeper in there. Just take that top layer off, put it back in there, and it seems to etch faster, better over time.
So you don't neutralize it first after you take it out 30 minutes? You just take it out and hit it with the scotch or with the wool and then put it back in?
Pretty much.
Okay.
I mainly do this because it's faster, because I'm trying to do this really quick. You can normally, at my house, I could probably do this whole process from stone washing in about 30 minutes. Just a stone wash. Because again, I do like 5 minutes of 5. So that's what, 25 minutes. Then the stone wash, or the actual stone wash finish, only takes 5 minutes to do. Or you can do it longer, depends on what you're looking for. Any questions, thoughts, opinions?
Putting the pattern on there like we saw tonight,
We're gonna do that, that's later.
that goes later.
Yes. I was gonna do, Palmer requested a shiny example and a stone wash example, so that's what I was gonna do. That is coming up. We're gonna do whatever design. I think we're gonna do the MFC logo. One of them or both of them. Any other questions?
Yeah, the dark stuff, is it ferric?
Ferric chloride.
Ferric chloride.
It's made from muriatic acid, hydrogen peroxide, and steel wool.
Yes.
So
You definitely want to do it outside and well ventilated.
outside
So steel wool and muriatic acid, that's some toxic fumes.
in a plastic,
Plus it'll ruin your shop.
yeah, everything in your shop's gonna rust.
So you need to be careful storing it or where you're storing it.
And store it in some type of PVC plastic, polypropylene. It will eat through polypropylene.
That's actually
Yes.
a good point. I actually will store mine in a PVC tube that actually has a nice cap on it and everything. I tighten it down.
A cup from Newt's or whatever
But
restaurant.
this is an example. This is basically just a small version of it. It's sealed like normal. It's kept away, and I keep it away from any metal in case that any fumes do come off of it. Again, it's very, to humans, it's not great. I wouldn't drink the stuff. The metal, it is furious. It loves to react with metal because all we're doing right now is rusting steel. We're controlled rusting steel just like cold blue does gun barrels.
The yellow fluid there, that is just baking soda.
Water and baking soda. You can use just water, but the extra baking soda helps neutralize it even better.
What kind of ratios on the baking soda?
A box of baking soda per thing of water.
A gallon of water or?
Just whatever.
Whatever.
Just water.
More baking soda is going to make it neutralize quicker.
Now, muriatic
Less
acid
baking soda.
has another name, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Muriatic acid is hydrochloric acid diluted 19 to 1 or 20 to 1. Because hydrochloric acid is so volatile that they basically cut muriatic acid
Muriatic acid
is hydrochloric.
is weak hydrochloric.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Chloric or
Nothing major
fluoride?
here. Sample. Take
Hydrochloric
after
acid
5 minutes.
is
Pull it out. Put it in the baking soda water. for a few seconds, let it react a little bit. You can see a little bit of baking soda on there. Just I got it very thick in there. Take it with the steel wool here. And shake it all off, get every bit of it out. Again, you can do this longer than five minutes, 5 times if you would like. But it'll get a little bit darker. Probably do it 6 or 7 times versus 5. I just stick with 5 just because time is money and a lot of people don't want to spend a lot of money on knives. So I try to get a good finish on it.
Now, if I set it in that acid and forget it's in there, what am I gonna come back to in 12 hours?
I could
12 hours, it'll just be thinner.
Dinner's just spring?
I can bring you an example next time. I forgot one of my Damascus knives for about a week.
A week?
Yeah, went on vacation, came back, went, where was that knife?
I never done a week, but I done.
And was the right word.
I bet you had a good edge.
Very, very good deep edge. I'm going to keep it just as a, hey, don't do this.
Don't do this again. Go finish the handle and put it on. You know, like a really nice finish on it, put it up there.
This
That's
is my
like
rustic,
great.
my rustic knife.
Now, if you kept etching it, could you achieve like a black finish on that?
Possibly, but if I want to go for black finish, I'd probably use brass black. And I use that actually later.
Okay.
It's
You
something
use
that
what now?
Brass black is something you haven't seen on any of the knives or examples that passed around because I was out of it when I made those. And Palmer wants me to do that brass black on that and actually get that pattern or the deer pattern better. I will. Brass black is mainly made for copper and a few other metals. It basically just darkens the steel. But I found this to be the most durable finish as far as all of it goes. Cold bluing gives you a shinier finish if that's what you want to go. You can polish it still with the blade really up and cold blue it. After you do your final one, I'm gonna call it good right here. After you get it done, WD-40 it, some kind of oil, because it is, if you do not, and you walk away as is, it's gonna rust, big time. So this video took longer than expected. We actually had some technical issues at the meeting. The phone that I normally record all my stuff on, the memory ran out. But luckily Joe stepped in at the last minute and used his phone. That being said, there was still some issues of me trying to get his phone and get the videos off of it. That took a little longer. I had a lot of issues downloading. I'm just letting you know why it took so long. And also, in this next part, there was actually kind of an issue with the sound. So what you're going to actually hear is me kind of narrating over it, which also took a little longer than I thought. I basically had to listen carefully, write it down. I've had issues with some of my videos in the past where the sound wasn't the best, but I also, at this point in time, I actually have the volume turned all the way up, louder than normal, and the video editor, and you still couldn't hear me. That's neither, it's just how it is sometimes. We're trying to do better at these Mississippi Forge Council meetings and better in the future, but there's just some stuff that comes up that you just can't see. So that just kind of explains what you're about to see next.
Now next what we'll do is some wash finish to the knife. About all it is what we're doing is actually putting small scratches in it, steel, using rocks as the randomness of a rock tumbles, and actually will scratch and leave impressions and random marks in the steel. You can buy different types of abrasive. You can buy a round, square, triangle to get a more consistent pattern, or you can actually do what I do and just use rocks out of the driveway. You do want to wash your rocks and remove all the dirt, and probably after about 30 cycles, you're going to want to re-wash the rocks and stones that are inside. They're just normal. I know you use normal, just regular outside rocks. Nothing special. When it comes to size, normal you want about a marble size. You can use pea size. The more consistent size you use, the more consistent the pattern will be. Because you are just removing the oxidized layer that we just put on using the ferric chloride acid. As it's tumbling with the rocks or just making contact with the steel, and it just removes the parts it makes contact with. You can just use a coffee can or a bucket of some sort, and you're just basically be sitting there tumbling it by hand, shaking it, and you will can do it, but you will be very tired afterwards. This is a 5-minute process. You can go longer if you want. Pull it out and just look at it. And if you want to go longer, you can. I normally do 2.5 minutes on one side, then 2.5 minutes on the other side. And just flip it between cycles. You can, if you want, do 2 blades at the same time if it fits in there, but you'll need the container that'll fit. This container, normally I can't do 2 knives at one time.
So you can do 2 blades, maybe 3 in a 5-gallon bucket.
This little setup here is very simple to make. All it is 2x4s and 6s with wheels with a battery powered drill that has power in it that is attached to the axle. I normally use a small tiny clamp to get it fine tuned in to keep the wheel spinning nice and consistently while I'm not standing there, but you can just hold the drill as is. Someone was asking about when to do this process. You normally want your knives already finished at this point, tempered, done, and ready to go. The next step after this would basically be put a handle on and sharpen them. After you do the ferric chloride bath, after you get done neutralizing the knife, what you want to do is actually go ahead, wipe the knife completely down, remove all the ferric chloride off of it, then add a nice heavy coat of WD-40 or any type of oil to keep it from rusting. Because if you do not treat it, it will start rusting afterwards. And it's also right when you get to put it in the rock tumbler, you're going to want to have a nice coat of WD-40 on it as it's tumbling, then clean it off after you do another cycle or you flip it over just to remove all the dirt off of it. There is an ideal speed. You do not want to go too fast. If you do, it will all go to one side. So the rotation speed does matter. Now that I take it out, I'll take it and flip it the other way and put it back in there and just do the other 2.5 minutes.
Can I see it before you put it back in there?
Right here, I'm just cleaning the blade off. People were asking what it looked like after 2.5 minutes, so I was going to clean the blade off, pass it around for them to look at. In my mind, when it comes to the stone washing, it actually ages very well with the use. It gets nice good wear patterns over time, and actually just gives it more knife more character.
It's like,
So do you do the stone wash on the annex too? The one that you haven't put through the canyon? Is it gonna look like anything or is it gonna look like
scratched up shiny.
right?